Indeed.
The holidays. Are you excited?
I am.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Which do you like better, Thanksgiving or Christmas?
I guess Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I kind of concur because Thanksgiving, it feels like less obligatory. Like, you don't have to feel a way about buying people's stuff, what you did or didn't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think as a concept, yes. Like as far as like what we've come to know, like societal pressure, but like specifically as far as what like is expected of my family, like I mean they're both pretty nonchalant and very low expectations, very chill.
Nice.
At least the side that I still get to go to. So,
yeah. I mean, I still get invited to all sides, but
yeah,
it can be kind of taxing in one of my situations because no matter how well I do, no matter how much I grow up, I'm still just that, 16, 17-year-old punk kid who's smoking pot in his bedroom and, anyway.
yeah,
And so it's hard.
yeah,
To go to that one. I just don't have interest in it.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I guess it's it's weird, man. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to live up to these expectations that we think the rest of our family has of us.
Sure.
And and maybe it's different for other people's family dynamic, but like I don't even see most of my family that much.
Right.
So like I can't imagine that they've got these lofty expectations of me or that I like need to impress them if there's not even that much contact.
Sure.
Like, so I don't know.
Has that changed though? Like in the past few years, has it gone from like you felt like there needed to be an expectation to like now it's more like I am who I am?
I guess so. It's a strange dichotomy. Like the one side of my family, no matter what, has always been just very genuine, like love me no matter what, sure. And actual unconditional love. And the other side has been very not that. And it was very strange realizing that well into adulthood that it was not a healthy environment, like it.
Sure.
And
sometimes it's hard to see it because you want that validation from these people. You want to feel like you're loved and accepted, and no matter how hard you try, it's still like you're that black sheep.
Yeah.
The prodigal son.
Yeah. And the older I got and the more I realized I was not going to get that, the more I had a screw it mentality.
Sure.
And then it, became that much easier for them to shut that door, and it is what it is now. But yeah, so
Do you think it's hard to not harbor resentment for that?
it was for a little while, but a lot of that resentment happened early, when I was in high school, and then after I moved out, folks got divorced. I carried a lot of resentment, and that fueled a lot of my use.
Sure.
And then when I got clean, I tried to repair that, but did everything I could to try to reconnect and reestablish communication, and
Show up and be present and be like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm coherent.
And we've talked, a bit, and I don't think that relationship's ever going to be 100% what it was, and that's okay. So I've done what I have, control over, and
Yeah.
the rest of it,
Yeah.
the results I don't have control over.
Yeah,
So
I feel that in my soul. I have a strained relationship with someone in particular.
oh, my printer's printing.
Yeah, I see that.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Well, we're getting something printed during the show, so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we just wait till it's done and cut it?
Yeah.
Probably. Control what you can control, right?
Yeah.
So, actually, you know what? Let's leave this in, because it's a really good example of how life doesn't always go how you expect. And sometimes the printer is just going to run when you're in the middle of something. It's funny that whole time pre-show you were messing with the printer and couldn't get it to print. And now that we're live and filming, it's like, yeah, man.
Right.
Run.
Now's the time.
Now's the time.
Like I was telling you, hell for IT folks is only dealing with printers.
I think that all of you should comment down below a terrible story involving a printer, because I know each and every one of you have that. I know you do. We all do. Printers are, a necessary evil.
They're a uniting force.
Yeah.
They're a uniting force in a world of
From
technology.
Office Space, where they just take the printer out in the field and beat it with baseball bats.
Yes.
It's just like,
Yeah. It really is. It was cinematic genius.
oh man. Anyway,
Yeah, let's jump right into holidays. So few talking points that I kind of threw together here, and I know that this is the time of year when a lot of us are tested.
And it's a time of year where there's a lot of bad memories probably, and a lot of no memories for me, like blackout styling.
Yeah.
And just the aftermath of my behavior during the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah, and also a lot of opportunity for making a whole lot of new traditions and memories and
Yeah.
a lot of opportunity for positive change and
Sure.
So-
And mending relationships, if you know.
yeah, absolutely,
If that's what you're into,
absolutely.
doing some 8th step work there.
Yeah, and 10th, 11th, 12th.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't already, please like, comment any, holiday memories that good, bad, or otherwise, holiday traditions that you've used to have and gotten rid of, or new ones that you've come up with. And subscribe. We got a lot of new stuff on the way. Mitchell's got a really cool interview coming.
It's true.
I believe tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
You've got the premiere happening.
Sunday, November 24th at 10 a.m.
Yeah, tomorrow, because
Interview.
Yeah,
because remember
we're time travelers.
We're time travelers.
Yeah, so
I thought about it harder, and we are in the past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they'll be watching this in the future.
that's true.
So last time we were like, oh, we're in the future, but we're not. Anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
We're in the future somewhere.
And the moral of that story, though, was that we were winning in the future, or things were going well. So I mean,
That's true.
We have that going for us.
That's true. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. We had advanced knowledge of the past.
That's fantastic. Oh my god. Not not an ad. Advanced GG though. I mean.
Yeah, but if they do want to sponsor us, we're open to that conversation.
Advanced GG, if you were out there and you're watching this, I'd love to be sponsored. I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be fantastic. I would talk about it just for free. Advanced GG probably.
Yeah.
It's a little expensive, but it lasts forever. Because the way they tell you to mix it is just way too strong. So it's like you thin it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not an ad. Hashtag not an ad. Where are we?
We're telling them to subscribe
yes.
in the longest way possible.
This is facts. So, yeah, holidays for me were an absolute chaotic mess. I was drunk for like 15 years of holidays. You know what I mean?
I do.
And at first it was
I
fun.
do.
You're drinking with all your cousins, the family gets together, we all kind of tie one on and play cards. It's a riot. But like towards the end, it was more like, let's, it's my ex-wife and I, let's get blackout drunk and make the entire family regret that they invited us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's lame.
Yeah.
It's lame to have that feeling of like, man, this is so out of control. You know what I mean?
I do. And it's in hindsight it was me wanting to, put up walls and run away from that emotional connection. And
Sure.
I hadn't matured emotionally. I hadn't developed that ability to be vulnerable and connect with even my closest loved ones. And so that was my way of avoiding detection, so my way of deflecting any kind of emotional attachment or conversations or having to deal with any of that kind of emotional
Right.
connection with anybody. I think your lapel mic's off.
Is it? Did it die?
It sure did.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, maybe we'll get the audio right one of these times. It should have been charged, but it's also been on for like the last hour and a half. Is what it is. Check. Okay, maybe. I'm lost again. So yeah, emotional connection. It was for me a lot of like, this is what we do to have a good time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like, this is a holiday party. It is a holiday party with families. What do I do at a party? I get spun out. So, like, it didn't matter that it was family, it mattered that it was a party. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And so, like, that idea of, being present for it isn't there because I'm relating it to the party that I would be having with my friends, or, going out when, that's, there was no delineation. There was no, like, assumption of responsibility to what it meant to the other people there. Because not everybody at the holiday party is trying to party.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. I was basically the only person in my family on either side that had even a percentage of the ambition to do the kind of damage that I was looking at doing.
Right.
And there was nobody approaching those gatherings with the kind of intent that
to kill a fifth.
Right. And I mean, they were all beer drinkers. Like, they would be able to go all day sipping, Miller Lights.
Right, but what's sipping?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. It was, in retrospect, it was a lot, it was just another excuse to binge.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, let's bring, a couple of good fifths and make everyone take shots with us until we're all tipsy. And the problem with that is, if they're not people who are, going for it, then you end up with a bunch of extra, and what are you going to do with extra? Well, I'm not going to pour it down the damn drain.
I don't even know what that word means.
I don't either. I just had a thought. So, I wouldn't call it regrets. I don't want to say that I regret how things went. The other one has charged. I don't want to say that I regret it, because that would take away from my existence. If I could go back and do it differently, sure. But I guess the idea is that, now that I'm sober, I can kind of go back and, at least with some family members, do things a little bit different. But yeah, I love how you guys get to watch me do this in real time.
Yeah.
It's picking up now. I guess that works. Perfect. This struggle was real. I don't know that it was about I don't know. It was about the party. Except I partied harder than everyone else. I drank more than everybody else. I did more of everything than everybody else. And so, when your lifestyle is to take it all to the extreme,
right? Yeah,
you break some things.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, nowadays, like Christmas with the kids, I like the fact that the twins will never know a Christmas with me drunk the way I used to be drunk on Christmas. My oldest does remember. She doesn't remind me out of spite, but when I talk about it, she's like, "Oh, I was there."
Yeah.
because she was like their age when, you know, she was like 7, 8 years old when at that very height of the chaos. So, you know, she remembers it and she's gonna remember it. And you know, whether or not a teenage girl is gonna tell you how it affected her or not is probably a moot point. But it's good that I can have that conversation with her from a space of like, hey, you know, that wasn't right, and you know, like I saying sorry sometimes isn't enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
100%.
It's
Yeah.
The apology isn't saying I'm sorry. The apology is changing the behavior and
Yep.
changing how you support your child
Yep.
in that relationship, or you know how you interact with your parents or your aunts and uncles. Like that's the apology. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've said sorry a million times, but like anything else, when you were in active addiction until you were like 39, almost 40 years old, nobody believes that out of your mouth.
Right.
Nobody believes that you're sorry.
And it's almost counterproductive to lead with that.
It is.
Because it doesn't feel genuine. It feels like that same thing that we did before.
Right.
Which was, well,
I need to not feel poopy about
right,
how I did.
I'm
relinquishing responsibility to you, really, is what it's doing. It's like, now I said I'm sorry, so you have to forgive me, or don't, because it's not my problem anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, well, I said I'm sorry.
Right.
You know, so the right way, in my opinion, to do it is, like you said, change the behavior and let them see changed behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And then have the conversation, you know, at the right time, and acknowledge, I
always
I messed up, or whatever it was.
When I talk to family members or somebody who I spent important bits of my life with and was out of control with, I don't really say I'm sorry. I say, you know, it was inappropriate for me to behave that way.
Mm-hmm.
It was not okay. And it really sucks that I put you through that, because that emotional stress or that, you know, whatever, wasn't fair to you.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's, to me, is more how I actually feel about it. You know, I remorse is an interesting feeling. But it's kind of, you know, self-induced. What can you do to change it? Literally nothing.
Right.
It's already happened. Unless, you know, we invent another time travel device. You know, we can't go back and change things. There's no editing software.
Right.
So I found that instead of sitting in that remorse, it's better to just explain to people how you feel about what happened. To explain to them that, hey, you know, I don't feel good about this either.
Right.
And it wasn't fair for me to put you through the feeling either.
Acknowledge it.
And and that's just so much more, I don't know, whatever. It's so much more productive, in my opinion, allegedly.
Agreed. So I think, you know, one of the things for me that has helped has been kind of doing a lot of self-reflection, and recognizing a lot of the things that are triggering, and being really honest with myself, and setting boundaries. Like, there's a lot of things that I've had to straight up just say no to myself to, as far as, you know, events and, you know, previous traditions and stuff that
Yeah.
would have otherwise been things I'd go to, whether it was with friends or networking events or
Sure.
company parties or whatever those things may have been. Um, and I think there's a lot of those, you know, common triggers out there, you know, family conflicts and obviously alcohol at
Yeah.
events,
I mean, a lot of those
financial
people are still
stress,
drinking, you know.
financial stresses. You know, I always talk about financial issues and stresses. That was always a huge trigger for me. Um, but any other triggers that come to mind that
For me, I mean, just existing. um, you know, my anxiety is weird. You know, I'll build up in my head what it is that I think these people expect out of me. You know, like we were talking about at the beginning, it's really placing an expectation on myself that, you know, I'm supposed to conduct myself in a certain way, and you know, there was for most of my life, like I didn't feel like I could talk to or interact with people without having alcohol involved.
yeah
Like it was literally the only way I didn't feel anxious. And you know, I think that now that I'm a few years removed from that as a crutch, what I've realized is that the anxiety is that people won't accept me for how I am. People won't think that my goofy stories or weird anecdotes or you know, you're much better at puns, but I can be punny at times. You know, I'm scared nobody actually cares about me, you know? And it's still a very real fear that I carry to this day. You know, I am, you know, finally not hating the person in the mirror, but going into a situation where you want so badly to be accepted and not feeling like you even belong there,
right
is rough. And you know, I'll be real honest with you. My first my first year, I didn't go to any family functions. I just didn't. I
yeah
mean, like some of that was because I wasn't ready to face some of the people because of some of my previous behaviors, but a lot of it was also like I just didn't want to be like, oh well, he's sober now. You know
yeah
what I mean? Like there was no real proof that I had done anything to change myself and
yeah
do anything different.
yeah
I look at it a lot differently today,
yep
because I've done the things, I've proved what I'm doing, and people are more. They don't walk around on eggshells around me anymore.
yeah and I had a similar experience where for me it was I was embarrassed. I you know
That was the word I was probably searching for the whole
I
time.
I was very embarrassed about how I behaved, how I carried myself. Like I got clean when I was 40. And when I was looking back on it, that first year, I also was like, do I really go and sit around and you know like
Explain
around
myself.
my young cousins and like
Mm-hmm.
how do I have these conversations and show up and all of a sudden be like, yeah, remember that embarrassing cousin that you had that
Right.
acted like an idiot and said all of those really ridiculous, like, thought he was being funny but really just made a fool of himself, like, and just replayed all of that embarrassing
Mm-hmm.
childish stuff that I did, and didn't know how to. I just didn't know how to show up and own it.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to navigate that feeling and how you're going to express it.
And I was very fortunate, and I'm still to this day very grateful that side of my family were very loving and gentle about the way that they approached the conversation of, do you want us to not have this or that around?
Right.
And just that gesture made it a lot easier for me to then say, no, that's okay.
Right.
I don't want you guys to change what's normal for you.
Right.
On my behalf, because I want all of you to know
right.
that I'm there with the intent of not doing any of those things.
Right.
And so it allowed me to be accountable to them. And I know a lot of folks don't have that kind of support, you know?
Sure.
And so
I think you and I are both lucky to have, at least have your family, but have family support in, you know, changing.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think part of it, though, was the fact that I wanted to be transparent and out loud about it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to keep it quiet. I didn't want to have any reservations about getting clean.
Sure.
I wanted my family, I wanted everybody to know that I was doing it, because I didn't want there to be a situation where somebody didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I could be held accountable.
Sure.
I didn't want it to be their responsibility to, you know, like, that's a fine line.
Right.
I didn't want to be
Then
like,
it'd be
it's your job to make sure I don't do this.
Sure.
But at the same time,
that worked for all those other years.
You're right. I didn't want to, like, offload the responsibility, but because they knew, then I could be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And it was still my responsibility, but then in my mind, I'm like, I'm not getting away with anything.
Sure.
You know? And
yeah.
so that was kind of, I feel like I get a little credit mm-hmm. for that, but most of it is, I'm very grateful that I had that support structure there.
Sure. Well, I found that at family gatherings when I'm there, people aren't really drinking anymore, for better or worse. And I don't know if it's their conscious decision to not drink around me, because I've been real open. I mean, we're in Wisconsin. Yeah. My family, you know, drinks beer.
Right.
You know, but I feel like they're almost like, well, instead of having, you know, 6 or 7, they're having like 1 or 2, you know what I mean? I've just noticed that, like, a lot of, you know, slowing down, and like on my other side, you know, like, it used to be, you know, the traditional shots, and like now nobody's doing shots. It's just like maybe a cocktail like in the evening, but it's and it makes me wonder if, like, my desire to drink kind of egged everybody else on to drink more as well. I mean, it's not my responsibility, but, you know, if I'm showing up with a fancy bottle and I'm like, let's have some fancy drinks,
right,
people are going to be like, hell yeah. And once they've had 2 or 3, they're going to be like, let's have some more, because that's how alcohol works.
Yeah.
So it's real interesting to see. And, you know, I had an uncle come out, and be like, hey man, like, good for you. He's like, I have whatever he had time wise, and he was like, yeah, it was to the point, where I'm like hiding vodka in the house, I'm hiding it in my car, and I'm thinking nobody knows I'm drinking vodka all day, and I'm like, I didn't know that you had that struggle. That's my struggle. I'm
Right.
hiding vodka everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to like have somebody who had the identical struggle with liquor, just be like right there and be like, heck yeah, man, like, I'm proud of you for doing it, and like to be able to reciprocate that, it's like even me, like, you 46 months, like, yeah, man. It's kind of it was interesting. I would have never in a million years known that was an issue that he had. He was very good at hiding it. He's a very professional person. Like, I would have never thought that was the case, where it was, on the edge of destroying his life and nobody knew.
Yeah.
I was on the edge of destroying my life, very loud and out in the open.
Right.
I have a much different style, but it's it was good to find that little bit of support. I should call him. It's been a while.
Yeah. When people cross our minds, that's usually a good sign that we should reach out. Interesting little side note, I actually had that happen here recently. I had thought about some folks that I met in early recovery way back in COVID, and reached out to a few of them, and I was telling you this before we hit record.
Sure. Yeah.
I got a text message last night from one of them, and they were like, hey man, this is one of the online meetings that I used to go to. They're like, they need a speaker last minute. We need somebody to speak for 20 minutes. And I was like, send me a link. So
perfect.
Last minute, hopped into a meeting, and I spoke for 20 minutes at this meeting.
Well, and it's so good to have a random chance to have some service.
Yeah.
We were talking about the other day in the meeting that we do, where, always be open to any opportunity to help somebody like out.
Yep.
And then there was I think the reading was about why am I drawing a blank all of a sudden? It was about how you never know who might be affected by your story in a positive way. You never know who needs to hear what you're saying at any given moment. I mean, I think that goes back to like why we're even doing this podcast.
Yeah.
It's not just because we love talking to each other. We do.
Most of the time.
Fair. It's just cool that that came out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
It's such a great opportunity.
And it serves as a good segue. So one of the things that I think is excuse me. One of the things I think is helpful, especially early on with holidays, is developing kind of a new set of traditions or a new kind of plan, toolkit.
Festivus for the rest of us.
That, but also just to kind of reframe how we view what the holidays can mean. And one of the big ones that I think can really help is in the same vein as service, but also really kind of taking things from more of a lens of gratitude in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think being in a society that's so driven by consume, spend, buy all of this stuff for all of these people that
stuff that nobody ever uses.
And one of the podcasts that I really like, and I mention him all the time, is Ryan Holiday with the Daily Stoic. He is doing a big fundraiser. Instead of taking sponsors that promote Black Friday deals and all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he's doing a massive fundraiser, and I love this effort. He's doing a huge fundraiser instead for Feeding America. And so, just providing meals for people. And even if it's especially for folks that are in early recovery, I know I didn't have a lot of money or resources getting fresh out of treatment and things like that, but I had a boatload of time.
Right.
And one of the best things that you can do is donate your time.
Yeah.
Because all the money in the world is not really that helpful if you don't have people to be able to actually do anything actionable with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Yeah, just throwing money at things doesn't generally... Right.
So you still need people to go and do the things. And there's always food pantries and kitchens that, especially around the holidays, can use an extra pair of hands. I think that's a great way to be of service.
A long time ago in a galaxy far away, when I first got clean, I went and did that because I was basically homeless anyway, and I had nothing better to do with my time. And like my recovery coach suggested, maybe I do some community service.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I wasn't obligated, but I figured I'd check it out. And I think like low key, the reason he suggested I go do that is because he knew that if I didn't shape up, that's where I was headed.
Right.
Like, hey man, that's you're like 2 steps from that being your life.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I still like to work with like Oxford House and do the inpatient meeting that we do is because I have to be connected to that early recovery. I have to feel proud of how far I've come in order for me to like see to understand the change and improvement. You know what I mean? Like, I am one drink away from being right back there, because we all know it doesn't end at one.
Yep.
And I hate to call it desperation, but it is kind of to be around, that desperation that like, I need to do something else or this is going to kill me. I have to be reminded that that's, where I was. And if I don't go out there and show people that this is possible,
right?
Like, I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
Because like, it was people who had, a few years who were ahead of me that helped me see that it's possible to change your lifestyle, to do something different. And, man, the giving that back is, it makes me, it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
To give people that hope.
Yeah.
And it's easy to write off and be like, oh, well, I'm just a person who has some clean time. But stuff like this, where it's just talking about how life can be and how to handle it, is, it helps me too.
Absolutely. Well, and, it definitely still has plenty of challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Just last night I had a very vivid using dream.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was
I had the first sex dream I've had in a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like almost 4 years in, and like I still get them. Like they don't go away. fewer and farther between.
What was it, like 3 weeks ago? I had like 4 or 5 in a row.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, can we not?
It's,
At least they were ecstasy dreams and not alcohol dreams.
But I mean, like, they're, still just as vivid and just as, like, much of a shock. And, so, like...
Well, it's such a big part of our lives,
When I think part of it is, like, I knew I was going to be doing this show. And so this time of year is very triggering.
Sure.
And so, like, subconsciously, it was thinking about all of those other triggers, and, it brings all of that up. It brings it right back up to the surface. And it just speaks to how ingrained a lot of those emotions are, and how big a part of my life it was for so long. So yeah, I mean, I know it's challenging for a lot of folks. Like it was for a long time. So I guess if I were to give any kind of advice, to anybody that is coming up on their first sober holiday season, it would be to be very open with the people that you're very close to. And to not try to do anything that you're not comfortable with.
Right. You don't need to rush out and fix everything that you perceive to be broken.
Exactly. There's absolutely no reason to try to live up to any expectations other than your own. So take the time to really do some reflecting, to take an inventory and have an honest conversation with yourself and set your own expectations. Like, what do I expect from myself for this Thanksgiving or this Christmas or this Festivus or this whatever it is, whatever the gathering is, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be, I want to go and I want to be able to sit down and have a meal, say my hellos,
and then jet,
and get back home without drinking.
Yeah.
If that's the extent of your list, and you are able to check all of those boxes successfully, that's a win.
Right. Well, I'd like to also point out that, if you have that checklist in your head and you don't think that you can do it, say no.
Exactly.
Say you don't have to go to these functions. It's okay to say no. And, if next year you feel better about it, go next year. I mean, like I said, I didn't go my first year because I didn't want to face it. It was too much for me.
Your other lapel mic died.
Did it really?
Yeah. That's okay.
Probably.
Our other camera died too.
Did it? Fantastic.
It's fine.
It's a good day.
Hey man, this is like the first one where we're trying all these new devices. So
Well,
it was bound to happen.
I mean, I haven't charged them since I got them, so.
Well, that seems like what was wrong. But,
yeah, I mean, I charged him like 2 weeks ago when I got him, but it's fine.
But yes,
And yeah, leave. If something is bothering you so bad that you're like, I need a drink or I need a hit, just leave.
yeah.
Like, be like, hey, everybody, thank you for having me here, but I'm feeling super uncomfortable, so I'm going to go. And if they don't understand it, that's on them. 100%. Like, you have to be okay removing yourself from a situation that is becoming too much.
And even before that, I would also say that having the conversation ahead of time with family or friends or whoever you're gonna be spending that time with, and setting those expectations and setting those boundaries.
Yeah, especially if it's somebody like your parents who are being super insistent, like, oh well, it's just not going to be the same without you, meh. Like,
yeah, then say
family guilt is a real thing.
Then you can say, okay, I hear you,
but these are my boundaries.
here's how I'm going to need this to go, if it's going to work.
Right.
And just lay it out. Like, look, this, and explain it. This is going to be my first whatever clean, and I'm feeling a bit apprehensive, and I've got some anxiety about this. So I'm going to show up for lunch or for dinner. I'm going to sit down. We're going to have a meal. I'm not going to be drinking. If you feel more comfortable not having it even at the table, say that.
Right.
If they can't deal with that,
yeah,
if it's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker.
Right. I mean, it's a really good exercise in learning boundaries.
Yeah.
And enforcing them.
Yeah. It's okay to say no to an event if you're not going to feel comfortable. That's totally okay.
It's okay to say no to an event even if you are totally comfortable.
Because it's also okay for them to say no.
Right.
To your request to have no alcohol present. Like, if they say, no, we're going to have whatever there, that's their prerogative.
Sure.
Because then you get to say, no, I'm not going.
Yeah. I mean, it works both ways.
Exactly. You both get to say, you both have the option to say no.
I love being able to lean on recovery as an excuse to not do so.
Yeah. And I used to have a shirt that said, sorry, I'm late. I didn't want to come.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what happened to it. I should get another one.
You know, that makes me think about that piece of art that I'm just going to keep now. It's like a desk thing, and it says, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. You are insignificant.
Nice.
Or something to that effect. Which felt like a good piece of desk stuff for you, because that's kind of
no, that
for those
100%
for those of you who don't know,
that 100% should be on my desk. I used to have a sign that said, "Bad planning on your part doesn't constitute an immediate emergency on my part."
It doesn't. I mean, so don't let family rope you in like it's an emergency.
Definitely don't. We're doing pretty good on time here.
We are.
Little segue question for you.
Well, real quick. Yeah. Okay, so for many of you, you and your cousins would go out and take a walk, and I know all of you know what that means. You know how? I mean, I was never a big smoker, as you know. Many of you may know. But it's a real thing that, you know, you and the cousins used to go, you know, sneak shots or, you know, smoke a bowl or whatever you do. What do you think is a good way to, you know, say no to that situation? Like, how do you be like, hey, I quit? I mean, for me, it's easy because I didn't smoke to begin with. Everybody knows. But, like, you did, right?
I did.
Yeah, and so you had cousins.
I still do.
Yeah. And so did you guys do the cousin walk, or?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So it's easy for us both to say no.
I mean, I I was kind of like the odd one out with a lot of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I so but just a general line that I like uh, using, I mean it works for pretty much anything at this point. If somebody in the rare case doesn't know, like if I've run across somebody I haven't seen in a while and they offered something,
Sure.
at this point now I'll just be like, oh, actually, I'm allergic, and it catches them off guard.
Oh man.
It catches them off guard, and I go, yeah, if I have one, I break out in handcuffs.
Yeah.
So, a little,
Got a little NA cliche there.
yeah, a little cliche, but a little bit of
I mean, it's truth though.
a little bit of comic relief, but then it also gets the point across without making them uncomfortable
right,
for
and it
asking
denotes how serious it is. Though.
Yeah, it's I enjoy that one just because it doesn't make them feel uncomfortable for not knowing.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
a little bit of levity goes a long way.
I don't know, man. I guess it hasn't come up for me. Like where somebody's like, "Oh, you want to sneak a drink?" I think that it's once again important if you know that that's going to be a thing, you got to put that on your list of things. Like it's not just about how are you going to interact with that situation? Are you like strong enough to say no? And it goes back to, again, if you do not feel like you're going to be safe and not use at the family function, it's okay to say no. I don't feel comfortable going.
And I guess if waiting for that question to come up and using some humor or something like that to diffuse it doesn't seem like a in character, or doesn't seem like it would work as well, then the other recommendation I would have would be to get out in front of it. Like if there is that cousin that every year you guys have that walk with, the instant you get there or they get there,
be like, hey man, not
head it off at the pass and just wanted to give you a heads up, pull them off to the side or whatever it's got to be.
Yeah.
Head them off at the pass and be like, wanted to give you a heads up. I'm not doing that anymore. Figured I'd let you know. Because then it's not weird when
when they go off to do it.
Right. Then they don't bother asking. They just go.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So
maybe deep down I want someone to ask me. I want to be included.
I'm
sorry.
That there's other things that would get categorized under then we'd I think call that a reservation.
Yeah.
So
so what were you gonna ask?
But I mean, little segue would be just some other things, other activities or traditions that have maybe filled the void for you that have kind of taken the place of for things that have now been ways to celebrate instead of using.
Cards, I guess. I don't know. I have taken it like I would prefer to focus on the kids and
Yeah.
what the kids are up to. My kids can't be here for Thanksgiving. I just don't have the time, and one of them's gonna be down in Texas. But it's like, for Christmas, it's more like focused on the kids and the kids' needs, which is 180 degrees from where I was a few years ago, where it was like my needs and what do I need, what do I need to get out of Christmas, what are people going to get me. I just try to use it as an exercise, and it's not about me. It's a good exercise, grounding exercise, to remind myself that there are other people living lives that find things that I abhor important. And I bail early. I only show up for as long as necessary, and then I hang out with my kids at home. The longer I'm in that situation, the more anxious I get generally, and the more I'm just like, okay, I need to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on me generally. I'm not blaming anybody. I just I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like the get-togethers. I don't know how to act. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to address resentments. I don't know, without it blowing up into a whole thing. Do you know what I mean? So for me personally, I either don't go, or I go for the meal, maybe a couple hands of cards afterwards, and then I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't want to participate. But yeah, that's how I handle it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
How do you handle it?
For me, a lot of it is being older now. A lot of my cousins and my brother has kids, and a lot of my cousins have kids, and so it does kind of revolve more around the younger family as well, and so seeing them get to have fun and whatever they're into, and kind of getting to enjoy their hobbies and really just taking an interest in whatever they're interested in. Tends to be a lot of fun, because remembering what it was like being young enough to not have been exposed to substances, and that wonder and fascination with whatever the hobby was I was into, whether it was sports or video games or whatever the thing was at that period of my life that had my
full attention
and imagination, and it's fun to get into that imaginative
frame of mind
space. Yeah, so it's enjoyable. And then also I've found a lot of joy just kind of reminiscing and talking with my grandmother. She's 93 now and still living on her own. So doing a lot of just kind of asking her about what things were like, before I was around, and getting a better picture of where I come from. And that's been a eye-opening experience to kind of get a better picture of
what it was
the
like.
full family picture.
And to hear things that you wouldn't have otherwise known.
Yeah.
Sure.
Things that had I continued to be self-centered, would have never cared about.
Yeah. I had the opportunity to spend some hours with a grandmother before she passed, like right before I got clean, and it was like one of the few days where I took, a few hours out of my vodka consumption, and so I remember it, which is nice. I'm very grateful that I accidentally did that. It was kind of like a whim, and I'm glad I had that experience. Because I learned a lot. I learned stuff about her I didn't know. Things about like my grandfather and other people, and it's just like, okay, well, sometimes it's easier to understand other people's roles in things that you are upset about as well, because you have a clear idea of where they're coming from and why they would react the way they did. Do you know what I mean? So, communication, man.
Yeah.
It all comes down to communication.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's difficult at first because brain fog, we're out of practice, and but it does get easier. I know that's cliche, but it's true. But a lot of it comes from practicing that vulnerability and practicing gratitude. And they kind of go hand in hand. And I think that's a pretty good segue for kind of what I would like to see as a bit of a challenge between now and
Tuesday
and Thanksgiving.
Thursday.
Is on all of our platforms, on the comments for this video, on our Discord, on Facebook, on our newly created Instagram and Threads. Just take some time every day to think about the things that you're grateful for. Just literally takes a minute, just something every day, something that you're grateful for in recovery. Let us know.
What are you grateful for today, Brett?
I am extremely grateful that we get the opportunity to do this. It's such a blessing to be able to have this as our sole focus at this time of year.
Yeah,
like
it's a welcome distraction.
It really is.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you and love you.
I mean, the night and day difference in my stress and anxiety level on a day-to-day basis is insane. And
my sleep schedule has moved back again, but that's fine.
It happens. But truly, I getting the opportunity last night to just show up and speak at a meeting out of the blue, like things like that. All of the things are happening organically, and it's all just telling me that we're on the right path here. And I'm super grateful that we get to do this. I'm grateful that we get positive feedback, and we've got all these wonderful folks chiming in and helping with good feedback on all of the different platforms. And so yeah, just would love to see everybody let us know things you're grateful for. I think it'd be a really good exercise in maintaining a healthy mindset between now and Thanksgiving, and then going forward as well through the end of the year, and get in a good habit of doing that into 2025.
I don't know that I do gratitudes enough. I mean, I do talk about things I'm grateful for almost every day to other people, but it's not something that I mention to myself. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I could probably work on that as well. Do you want to know what I'm grateful for today? I am grateful for a warm bed and a forgiving sleep schedule.
Yeah, man.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for all of this too, but I talk about that a lot, how grateful I am for this. So, you know, I'm grateful that I had a couple of people come out and support me on Twitch. I had a whole 4 people watching at one point.
Nice.
But, you know, hey, that's 4 more people than I had when I'm just mixing by
That's
myself
awesome.
in my apartment. I think that I'm really grateful that that has come together as a source for me to have a creative outlet. Not that this isn't creative, but I am a much more mentally healthy person if I'm mixing music like once or twice a week. Like,
Yeah.
it's just it's a good emotional release depending on what I'm playing. And it's just very, and it's very cool to have, you know, a couple people who know me from the interwebs to come and support. If you are in our Discord, the link is there. If either one of us go live, he races Formula One or whatever car you're in. And I mix music, and so our Twitch socials are there if you guys want to come check us out, and that's cool too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to find those outlets, you know, whatever it is, and that's part of what we want to do with that Discord is, you know, whatever those hobbies are, whatever those things are, there's probably somebody else out there that is into the same thing, and connecting people over similar interests in recovery, it can be difficult to find and connect with people that have similar interests. So helping to facilitate that's part of our mission.
And understand with the Discord, I really want it to be community driven. So like if you have a Twitch channel that you stream on or a YouTube channel that you stream on, I am more than happy once we like verify that it's not, you know, there has to be some discretion. But you know, once you're verified and interacting, I'm more than happy to put people's stuff on the Discord as well. I mean, I want it to be for you guys.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain that.
It's
just
we're, you know.
You tell me what you want to talk about in there, and I will talk about it with you, or we'll find people who want to talk about it, or we'll make a place to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, there's lives in there. I do have an AMA section, so you know, if we can get a bunch of you on there, Brett and I will sit down and do an AMA.
Yeah, we're as much passengers on this ship as anybody else. We want to just, you know, we want to grow with you guys on this thing. So
more engineers than passengers.
We're building the plane as we're flying it, man.
I mean, would you have it any other way?
Not at all. That's where I thrive. You know that.
I do. That's how we end up with this.
It's true.
Although I'm not gonna lie, I love how this works.
Yeah, it seems to work.
Keeps us on track.
It seems to work, man. I'm all about guideposts.
Yeah. It's and I like this better than up on the screen.
Yeah.
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 So.
It's working. It's all right.
You guys
let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, let us know what you think. Let me know how the interview went.
Yeah.
When that drops, because I'm not going to be live and talking to you.
We have advance notice of the past.
Yeah, well, and it's set to premiere, so you guys will see it.
Which will be tomorrow.
Yeah,
in the past.
Let me know. Let me know what you thought of that, and if you like the long form content, I think I have a couple more guests lined up. Might try to do that bi-weekly. I don't want to make a weekly promise because it is a lot of work to go through that and edit it, and it was like, okay.
We have an exciting thing coming up on Tuesday, which is in 3 days.
Yeah.
We'll tell you more after it happens, but this
pretty
is
exciting.
Very exciting potential collaboration coming up.
Mm-hmm.
When we've got a little bit more info, I'll be able to do more than a teaser about it, but that
It's still too early to name drop.
It is.
But it's definitely more.
But it's a name.
It's more cemented than it was last
Yeah.
week when we were giddy about it.
Yeah, it's. I'm excited. I'm excited, and I hope you guys will be too.
It's gonna be a good exercise in not being awkward.
Yeah, it's late for that, but yeah. Anyway, closing thoughts. Take a big recap takeaway.
Closing thoughts. It's make a list. Write it down if you have to of what your needs are, what your boundaries need to be for the parties, for the get-togethers, for the whatever, and make sure that you are enforcing those boundaries and sticking to that list. If you don't feel comfortable, you can say no. I think that's pretty much the recap.
Yeah. Yeah. I would encourage, if you are planning on going somewhere, if you are planning on doing this, set expectations just for yourself. Don't worry about what you think anyone else's expectations are or anything like that. Just worry about the expectations you have for yourself. Mm-hmm. And make them very simple. I want to show up and I want to be able to sit down and have a meal. I want to be able to have a good conversation with so and so. Whatever that looks like. Just have those, write them out if you have to, and then go back through and be honest and say, are these doable? Are these attainable? And if there's caveats, if there's, well, I could do this if this, then those are the boundaries, and those are the conversations then that need to be had. And those are where you set those boundaries, and
you're not obligated to work 8 and 9 while you're there.
Right. Absolutely not.
There's no obligation. In fact, it's probably counterproductive.
Yeah. Don't. It's not a necessarily a step work time. It's a very, very simple. Just keep it very simple. Keep it very basic. And like Mitchell said, they have just as much of a right to say no to your boundaries as you have to say no to anything they're putting out there. So there's no obligations. If anything's not jiving, don't force it. But it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
If
And if you feel like you really need to do something and you can't do it with your family, your local A club, whatever, NAA, whatever, your local club, I guarantee you is having a Thanksgiving, they're having a Christmas, and it's a safe space where you can go and,
or if you don't want to go to one of those clubs, go volunteer.
Yeah. I mean,
Go. I guarantee you that any of the pantries or any of the Luke House or any of that, they're not going to say, no, you can't help us serve some food.
Sure. And then you can have some of that food too. You definitely get to eat some of that food.
And you know what? Being of service, I will say it till I'm blue in the face, being of service is never going to leave you wishing you hadn't. I promise you that you will always walk away from that glad you did.
I mean, I'm never mad.
Right.
At that. I'm never mad at that. I should clarify.
Yeah. It's yeah. Uh-huh. Don't put too much pressure on yourself.
I mean, that's really the key to existence is not to put too much pressure on yourself.
Give yourself a little bit of grace. Control what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have a feeling
It'll
I'm
be
going to
alright.
watch this back and I'm going to be slouching a lot.
I mean, I always do. I don't care.
But that's something I can control.
Well,
It's fine. It'll probably be okay. It's Saturday.
it'll be fine. Give yourself a little grace.
Oh,
All
man.
right. Well, yeah. If you haven't by now,
Yeah, if you got it this far, you owe us a like.
and subscribe and
We
click the notification bell so that when
we do definitely appreciate it.
yeah,
we love you guys.
it's a free way to support the channel. Go onto the website realworldrecovery.net. Sign up for the other socials. Get into the Discord.
Yeah.
Meet some folks that like the same things as you, and get chatting with them.
And
Sure.
don't be scared to post. If people just start posting, other people will follow.
Yeah.
Discord's a great resource. So the Facebook bot's there, the YouTube bot's there. You'll always be alerted
Yeah.
to new content. Probably make an Instagram bot tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're gonna keep building. So let us know what else you'd like to see, and we'll try to make it happen. And as this as this community keeps growing, who knows if it's something you're interested in and you want to get involved. If you got some experience with it, we
info@realworldrecovery.net.
we may be looking to use your expertise down the road too. So hit us up.
It's a community effort. Together we recover.
Yeah. Let's make this a thing. We
Is that
appreciate it. Yeah.
All right. Love you guys. Peace.